Welcome to AHA. As you all know, a human among humans. I'm Michael Koran, trying, with your help. I shouldn't even say trying, with your help, and with the help of this man coming on, Will J. Kurtz. I would say for the new year, AHA stands for a human among humans. I hope all of us are beginning to feel that we're a human among humans. You might have always felt that.
Sometimes I feel like I'm among humans, but I'm not sure if I'm one of them.
Yes. I used to feel that way when I was young, like you. Like yesterday.
Yeah, like yesterday. Well, sometimes it's just like the person mask, right? The person mask. I got to go outside. I got to put on my person mask.
Oh my, yes, I know it well.
Yeah.
And you know that already, and you're just a youngin'. Like you're not 40 yet, are you?
I'm not yet 40, thank you.
Wow, you're like 35, 33?
Thank you for that. I just turned 37 earlier this month.
That was when, what a segue, that was when Walt Whitman wrote Song of Myself.
Song of Myself, is that what we're going to read first here?
First, yes.
Okay, great. So let me get that up for us. I'm going to do a long fade, so it's dramatic here. Shall I read?
Yes.
I celebrate myself and sing myself, and what I assume you shall assume, for every atom belonging to me as good belongs to you. By Walt Whitman.
Yes, at 37.
He was 37 when he wrote that.
Yes. I mean, he wrote Song of Myself, unless he added it, but he first wrote Song of Myself, an unknown writer at 37.
Now, Walt Whitman, correct me if I'm wrong, but he spent most of his life on his opus Leaves of Grass, correct?
Yes.
But was he a known poet throughout his life, or it was only towards the end of his life when he released the tome?
No, he had released parts before and kept working on them.
Okay.
And he comes to New England to meet Ralph Waldo Emerson, who read some of his poems and thought, he was unknown, but he thought, this is the new poet for America. And they walked around Boston Common together. Emerson preached at the Unitarian Church right in the corner of the Common.
I knew that part, or I thought I knew that part.
Yeah.
But so Whitman and Emerson, I mean, they were buddies, I guess.
No, that was the one time they met.
They only, as I said, they met the one time and they didn't really care for each other.
Emerson tried to get Whitman to cut out what he considered the raunchy parts.
Yes, because, I mean, Leaves of Grass, more like Leaves of Ass, if you know what I mean. Like, there's a lot of raunch in there.
There's a lot of celebration of my vine.
Yes.
And the, I'm not sure how he calls it. I don't think seed that comes from me, but something like that. And Emerson thought Whitman could become the American poet, but he needed to tone it down. And good old Walt didn't.
No, Emerson did not foresee Allen Ginsberg.
No,
surely.
Well, Walt helped make Allen's.
Yes, he did. Of course he did.
Walt was the father of American poetry. Dickinson was the mother, according to many people. Now, before that, Emerson had written a postcard to Whitman saying what I just said, you could be the poet I have been waiting for and all America has been waiting for. And Emerson was actually right.
But he's like, stop it with the thorny tree branch metaphors.
Yes. And Whitman walked around with that postcard in his breast pocket.
Oh, is that right?
From perhaps the rest of his life.
Now, Whitman, how public was it known? Was his sexuality known at the time? Was it at all, or was that?
No, he hid it. It was.
He was
shameful.
completely hidden. I thought maybe like in a close circle, in the same way that like in the early days of Hollywood, like it wasn't public,
But it was known.
But it was known. But that wasn't the case at all because just wasn't. Well, society was so different then.
It was in some ways sad. Someone wrote him from London, from England at least, saying, I think they were called the Calamus poems, and said, are you, I'm paraphrasing, but are you gay? And Whitman wrote back, no. Just sad. Someone else from England, a woman fell in love with him and came to Philadelphia to be with him. And of course, he wasn't interested in what she was interested in, but I believe they became friends.
That's nice.
But that was hard for him his whole life. He called it the adhesive instinct, that he would get attached to people.
Yes.
And that was hard. He walked his talk, however, in other ways. He wrote Song of Myself and probably Leaves of Grass before the Civil War, celebrating. We can read it again, actually.
Sure, absolutely. I celebrate myself and sing myself, and what I assume you shall assume. For every atom belonging to me as good belongs to you.
Wow. I'm even touched now. So what do you make of that before we continue the story?
It's nice. It's nice.
Damning with faint criticism.
No, I'm not damning, and far be it from me. I mean, Walt Whitman is the father of American poetry. He had a wonderful hair, a wonderful look. Yes, and no, he's written many poems which I greatly admire. I own a copy of Leaves of Grass.
Wow.
Yeah, and I like this. I'm not sure if it 100%. I guess I think we come up across this a lot when I read these quotes that you provide here. Is that I'm just a bit too guarded. I guess a bit too individualistic. And a bit too skeptical to really buy into things like for every atom belonging to me is as good belongs to you, or things like that. I don't know.
Let's start with the first part. I celebrate myself and sing myself. This is how he starts his poem.
Yes.
Not I sing of Achilles, like Homer would, or of a great war. This is his beginning. And what do you think of it? What do you make of it?
I celebrate myself and sing myself. Oh, well, that's very flamboyant.
Oh.
No,
go for it.
It is.
That's very interesting. What you're saying. So in some ways you're saying that was his, maybe like a gay person, he was. Is that what you were?
Right, they didn't have the Pride Parade back then, so you had to write a poem that says
was his own pride.
But can't you just see a young man at the Pride Parade, wearing, not a lot, maybe some sort of Speedo type contraption, and maybe with some lovely makeup done, and just standing there on one of the floats saying, "I celebrate myself and sing myself."
Wow.
I mean, I can't do that voice, and that was a terrible stereotype, and I know blah blah blah, but just the visual, I think that's a lovely visual, and I think would be a lovely tribute. So if there are any flamboyantly gay men watching, and I know that's a rarity in Cambridge, please consider doing this as a tribute to the father of American poetry and of gayness, Walt Whitman.
And now the sadness is he didn't really do it fully because he couldn't, even in a private letter, admit it to an admirer in London. And that is sad.
Mm-hmm.
He could write hints of it, and you could pick it up immediately. I've never heard anyone else say what you've just said.
Well, nobody else in the history has randomly put those words together.
No, or you for that matter.
Or me for that matter.
Every atom belonging to you for that matter. Speaking of matter.
Speaking of matter.
Every atom belonging to you, as good, I hope, belongs to me.
But I think there's something to that, right? Because, I mean, our atoms all get replaced, right? Isn't that when I think that's come up on our show before?
I'm breathing your air.
Yes,
this is very intimate, and I hope it's allowed on CCTV. I'm breathing your air, and you're breathing mine.
Not only are you breathing my air, but if you go get some water,
yes,
probably that water's been in me at some point, and then went back up in the air and back down.
This is more intimacy than you might have bargained for.
Yes.
So in that sense, you're understanding him then.
And in that sense, I'm understanding them, but that's so. I find it all a little gross.
Go for it. We don't have him back every other week for nothing. Now this Walt Whitman's I Celebrate My has been sung, the words, for over 150 years, but no critic is like our critic Will J. G. Kurtz, is that it?
Yes.
Yes.
Wilhelm Julian Hungermann. So a lot of people, or you hear about this thing called like germ phobia a lot, you know?
Yes.
And I'm not germ phobic. Like, I'm not afraid of being sick. I'm not afraid of like catching a virus. I mean, I am as much as the next person. But I'm kind of just like grossed out thinking about exactly what we're just talking about, how you're breathing everyone else's air, how when you drink a glass of water, that water was someone else's pee at some point, and then it evaporated and became, you know what I mean? Tears, sure.
Sweat?
All of it goes back up in the air. You sweat, it goes up in the air, and then it rains back down, and all the dog and catness, Aberdeen, and
yes.
It's
wild buffalo,
eagles.
Wow, this is very nice, though. No,
it's. I think.
What do you think? It's all yours. It's me.
No.
Yeah, but you can entomb yourself.
I think about that sometimes.
But that won't work, though. There's stuff that will get through, quarks and.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. But. Okay, so you ever think like you go on an airplane? Do you fly often?
I used to. My mother was in Sarasota. Yes.
So when you fly an airplane, you go, and they don't clean those airplane seats, and who knows who sat there before you. So you've got your hair and your face all rubbing up this thing where like all these other heads and faces rubbing up against him. The general grime of people just getting all over you. Then you go home and you put your head on your pillow, and that grime is getting on the pillow now, and it gets into your mouth.
Yes.
And it's just like there's just no matter what you do, no matter how sanitary you try to be, the just general grime of humanity is going to infiltrate you.
This is humans. We are celebrating the general grime of humanity. That should have letters to it. GCH. You have GCH. Now, if you don't want GCH, you can buy from us.
Right?
They do that. They make these diseases up, and they sell things to cure you of them.
Yes.
So you've heard it first here. CCTV. They won't let it go on even public television.
No.
GCH. And Will is now going to tell us his fantasies of avoiding GCH.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, and I'm actually embarrassed to really go on.
Now we know it's going to be good. Yes, go for it.
But I actually went through a period, this was maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, where I got like so obsessed with this idea that like everything that was in my home had to be like pristine.
Wow.
That like when I would buy groceries
Yes.
and bring them home, like jars
Yes.
and like bottles and stuff.
That people might have, that people put on the shelves.
Yes.
With unwashed,
The unwashed masses.
unwashed messes.
Think of it like the journey that piece of food took
Yes.
before it got to you. Like,
Let alone what's
who knows?
inside the jar.
You know what? You have to just believe that whatever is inside the jar, you have to just accept, right?
Oh, you do?
But
huh?
what's outside the jar, I actually. So what I'm like, if I bought like a bottle of juice, before I put it in my fridge, I'd like wipe it down with a rag.
Oh, the bottle.
The bottle, the outside of the bottle, yeah, because
No,
I didn't want my mouth when I was drinking it to touch the fingerprints of whoever it was who put it on the shelf or who put it in the box.
So you wash the bottle. Did you wash your hands before you washed the bottle?
Of course, before and after.
Before and after.
Yeah.
Oh my, that's very touching. We were not planning on going here, but that's why you keep watching and enjoying. When I go to the bathroom, let's say at Christopher's.
Your friend Christopher's
No,
or
no,
the restaurant?
the restaurant Christopher's.
Yes, the restaurant Christopher's. A fine place, yeah.
Yes, very nice place. I take a towel,
Yeah.
which is not politically correct, an extra towel, to open the door.
You have to, yeah.
Because that door,
It's disgusting.
if you took a photograph of that door handle.
No, you can't touch that door handle and then go eat a hamburger. No.
After washing your hands carefully.
No. Just defeats the whole purpose.
Yes, you do the same, yes.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, you do?
Oh, I
Wow.
don't touch public toilets.
Wow.
Nothing.
Wait, what do you? So how do you lift the seat? You get another towel?
Here's I think.
What about the handle? I don't think I do it with the handle that I push. Oh, because I can wash my hands after the toilet.
So here's a few. First of all, an excellent invention for somebody out there would be, you know how they have the little step lever on the trash cans. They have the trash cans that have the little step pedal, so you can step on it so the lid opens.
You don't have to open the lid yourself.
And you don't have to open the lid yourself. Why not have that for a toilet seat?
Oh wow, you can make a lot of money. Wow.
But
Yeah.
because those don't exist, sometimes I'm in a rush in whatever I do. It's all in my head, so sometimes.
No, they're out there.
No, I know that, but it's these kind of mental blocks. Sometimes I'm just like have stuff on my mind and I don't have time to deal with that. But if I do have the luxury of like really fixating on the gross cooties that are on the toilet seat, what I'll do is I'll just take a little piece of toilet paper and I'll use that to lift it.
I might do that too.
Yeah.
Now, who has that toilet paper? Now, we're not just talking about gross bathroom humor. This is a sophisticated show, as you know, and just show them what we're talking about.
Yes, but of course.
Remind them that we're talking
For every atom belonging to me, as good belongs to you. And that's correct, because we're all sharing the same environment, and the same water, and the same air, and the same earth. And
what do we do about breathing?
You know what? I try not to think about it, because like when I'm on a subway, in a crowded subway, and I think about how many people's it's just been in your body and now it's in my body.
First class subway.
Is it too much to ask?
So remember, we're really discussing great literature. Don't let us distract you from your focus. Yes, please go on.
Well, you had suggested first class
Subway.
Subway.
Yeah.
It would cost like $3.
Oh, but those first class people are I just saw the movie Vice.
Yes, as did I.
Oh, geez.
Yes.
Let's talk about that in relation. It was about Vice President Cheney and how he immediately took over the presidency.
I think it was a play on words.
Yes, it surely was. It was frightening.
Yeah.
Absolutely frightening, and it could be going on. I'm sorry to say, is going on now in a different way.
In a different way, although a very different way. I think that Cheney was not ideological. I think that's something that the movie got across. Cheney just was in love of power and wanted as much power.
Money.
Money, but yeah, sure, money, power, money, But when it came to, the social issues that are so important to the Republican base, he clearly didn't care about that. He had a daughter, and this is good. The movie actually portrayed him. One thing that I was a little surprised by in the portrayal of the movie is what a nice family man they portrayed him to be throughout the movie. I believe that he was. I never looked into it because, I don't care if Darth Vader's good to his kids.
And his wife even. And his wife was like Lady Macbeth.
Yes. Yes.
Great movie, by the way, if you can bear it. Wow.
If you can bear it, yeah. And the other movie I saw over this weekend was The Favorite, which was also fantastic and also a little tough. I don't know. No, just intense, very intense, but hilarious.
So if these people,
yes,
who might, if you wanted to be maybe accurate or mean, ruled by their reptilian brain, is that fair? Maybe not.
Well, they are reptiles, right?
I mean, they
lizard people.
Maybe. But so where do we go with every atom belonging to me? What about I celebrate myself and sing myself? And these people do it too.
Can I ask you something, actually?
Yes.
When he says, for every atom belonging to me as good belongs to you, is there a double meaning of atom there? Is he doing an Edenic? Yeah.
In some ways, he's like Jesuit Jesus, who says to his students, did you visit me when I was in prison? Did you care for me when I was in the hospital? And his student said, you never were in prison or in the hospital. And Joshua says, anytime anyone is in prison or is in the hospital, that's me. And there is some way, there's another poet, Thich Nhat Hanh, you might have heard of him, maybe, or not? No?
I think so.
He has a poem about, he is the pirate who rapes the escaping refugee. He is the refugee. He is the frog. He is the fly. He is the tongue of the frog. Catches. There's a way, just from what you've been saying, that in some ways not only are people's air and grime coming to us, but at this moment, when I look at you,
yes,
you and your appearance are really more in me even than you. You can't see what you look like unless you peek.
That's correct. And I would go even further as to say that those who are watching us on television really have a greater understanding of this conversation because they have total observative qualities. I love how I make up words on the show.
Yes, that's beautiful.
Observative.
Beautiful.
Observative.
This is perfect. We should say these.
Observational.
No, observative is much better. And when we go to a movie, we take in these people.
Yes.
We're scared for them. The boy whose head was shot, I don't want to give a part away, but there was a boy shot in Vice, right? A young man, boy.
I thought it was an elderly man.
Or was even elderly.
Yeah, and that's something we can talk about because that's a historical event that happened. Dick Cheney shot his friend in the face, right?
No, that's a different one.
You were referring to something else.
The heart.
Oh, yeah, that we shouldn't give away.
No.
That was a twist.
But he did shoot his friend in the face, and his friend apologized on TV.
Yes.
How's that for power?
Cheney never apologized.
No, his friend said, I'm sorry, my face got in the way of the bullet you shot.
My goodness.
That's power, man. So we're unfortunately running out of time. But to Jesuit Jesus, certainly, and any actor can feel, if you're playing Dick Cheney, you feel in some ways you are him, right, when you play him.
Maybe, yeah. Well, Christian Bale was phenomenal.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we when we watch, we identify with the So it could be, for a sensitive poet like Walt, he can feel that he's sharing himself with others, right? He's telling you, Will, every atom belonging to me is good. You're not going to get the bad ones. Belongs to you too. Just in the way you're talking about it, it's recirculating. So maybe, but maybe like Thich Nhat Hanh and Joshua Jesus, he feels in some ways he is you. Does that make any sense?
Yes.
Just like we. So, and the last thing, we only have a minute and a half. What about celebrating and singing Will J.G. Kurtz? Can you say, hooray?
That's, I don't know.
No, you can't do that?
No, I can't. I'm too modest.
I'm not sure I can either. I'd like to.
Do you find, we don't have enough time to get into it, but do you find, because either the way that you're raised or your inherent personality, an over humility that's difficult to overcome in order to do something like celebrate and sing yourself?
Wow. In the last 50 seconds.
Yeah, like answer straight out.
I'm sure. Well, maybe stay tuned for 2 weeks from now.
All right,
Let's try to remember this. Self-love. What does that really mean?
I wouldn't know.
Now, someone wrote, that we don't have it in my quotes, no one in the world is loved like everyone wants to be loved.
I agree.
Wow. Boy.
Because it's cynical, so I agree with it.
I see. Am I loved the way I think my beyond significant other loves me more than I love me at times?
That's good.
And it helps me take it in.